This is the Cliff Yates Show. Personal growth, motivation, inspiration, and philosophies for a great life.
Hey everybody, this is the Cliff Yates Show, and I have another great guest on today. And I'm gonna tell you right up front, and it'll be in the podcast show notes and also on the description of the YouTube channel, RachelLavinWellness.com, and her book, The Doughnut Diaries. And she's into everything we talk about, which is really nutrient-dense foods, movement, and rest. And I think that's some of the three pillars that she talks about. And she's been empowering, coaching women in a holistic way for quite a while on the big stage in New York City. So I really can't wait to talk to her. So Rachel Lavin, thanks for joining me today.
Thanks, Cliff. I'm so excited to be here.
So great. So you started, like a lot of people, really in 2020, you realized, well, I'm not going to coach one-on-one in person. So you had to kind of do remote stuff. So but that does open the door to reach more people, right?
It does. And I'm so grateful that it was such a seamless transition. And I'm still actually coaching some of my ladies from New York now that I've left New York virtually. So yeah, I love it.
Where were you coaching in New York City?
I was in Manhattan, and I was traveling on a weekly basis between the Upper West, Upper East Side, Lower Manhattan, just everywhere.
Oh, so whereabouts in where was your place in Manhattan?
I actually was an independent trainer, so that meant I traveled to my clients.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
That's cool. Well, we love New York City, my wife and I both. So we have a timeshare there at the Hilton at 53rd and 6th. So we love Manhattan.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. We'd like to go to Broadway shows. I don't know why, we just love it.
Nothing like it.
What's your philosophy, and how did you get into health and wellness and fitness training? Tell us how you started.
Well, this is a very personal journey for myself because
Yeah.
I was always in a place of not feeling like my body was the right size, and I just felt like initially the fitness industry was the one thing I could do that would help me keep my body a certain size. But the more that I learned, the more that I was involved in the industry, I realized that it was much more to me than that. And it was really about helping other people, myself included. But it was something that came so naturally to me. And I felt like this was what I was meant to be doing.
Oh man, that's so great. That's how I really got into it too. I had I don't know why, when I was a kid, I just could not put on weight. I was extremely skinny. Didn't want to be. I wanted to play sports. And man, the body shaming, it was like, man, people just, I don't even know if it was out of cruelness, but they made fun of me. I mean, you're so skinny, pointy chest and bag of bones and all these, man, it killed me, you know, but it created a fire in me to how can I get bigger? And I started, reading powerlifting and bodybuilding magazines and just became immersed in that. But over the years, those philosophies and that knowledge becomes inculcated into your brain. So now I look back and it's almost was a gift to me. Do you feel the same way? Or?
I do. I really do. 24 years later, I'm still in it, but with a completely different mindset, not only for myself, but for the people I work with. And I love it. I wish that it was a little more evolved, but with people like me, and I know there's a lot more people in the industry that are fighting for equality, and one day we'll get there, I hope.
Yeah, wow, that's great. And what's your kind of the philosophy on how you marry nutrition and movement? What is your kind of your framework?
I think because I spent so many years thinking and believing, and also teaching my clients, it's diet and exercise. Those are the only two things that matter. And that really is not true. Especially the older I get, I realize how critical eating whole foods and eating consistently, and how much that the ultra processed foods out there are really the culprit of why we're sick, why we don't have energy, why we don't maintain our body weight. I mean, we could go into a whole nother show about that alone. But I do know now that with the three pillars, like we talk about, and there's a lot more involved, but the three mainstays are eating whole foods, moving your body consistently and giving your body that rest that it needs. And that means your sleep, that means your stress levels, that means all of those things that unfortunately we as humans are so immersed in.
Yeah, I'm so happy you said that, because that's, I have you heard of Mark Sisson and the Primal Health Coaching Institute? I don't know if you heard of him.
I have not.
Mark Sisson is a guy in his 70s, and he is just, he's really jacked up, but he's kind of eats in a compressed eating window. He was a triathlete. He coached Brad Kearns, who was a major triathlete, and he started having arthritis and all these physical problems, even though he looked as a pillar of health. And then he really kind of got into primal. He created the Primal Health Coaching Institute, and it really, and there are a lot of women coaches involved in it. He's now out of Miami, but his whole goal is to bring the whole country into kind of basically what you were saying. It's not as simple as calories in, calories out. That's not the way to go. It's nutrient dense foods, moving a lot, and like you say, rest. If you're not getting proper sleep, too much cortisol, you can't metabolize fat the proper way. So we kind of, check into him, because I think you're probably more under that philosophy than you would probably think of. But I'm with you on all that. Yeah, that's great.
Thank you.
Yeah, another thing, so his thing is, I got into this, so my dad died of heart disease, and so I got into this whole, forks over knives things and heart disease, and these surgeons who, I was so shocked that the major cause of death for men and women, heart disease, could be not only stopped but reversed. But I got into that no fat, deal, and then I found that all my numbers were great, my blood work, but my glucose and my A1C was high because I was just having carbohydrates. And then I'd come to learn all carbohydrates are made into a glucose, and that spikes insulin, and we can't be insulin resistant. We need to be insulin sensitive. Speak to that on your end.
Well, I'm definitely not a doctor or a nutritionist, but
Right.
I do believe that we all need to learn how to eat for our own bodies.
Yeah.
And the more that we can start to get foods that are grown and are made from the earth and not ultra
Processed. Yeah.
because that's, and unfortunately that includes your Whole Foods and your Trader Joe's. And you really have to be open to looking at labels and reading the ingredients. And I think a lot of times people look at the back of a label and they're like, oh, calories, okay, and they don't go any further. So start looking at the ingredients list and think about, do I know what this is? Can I pronounce this? What does it do? How is it made? Is it man-made? All those things seem like it doesn't matter, but it does matter. And that's why I'm at with that. I think how you eat is important, but I also believe that listening to your body when you eat is important too.
Yeah, that is. Yeah. So what you get your clients on, what kind of diet do you start them off like slow, and then we start maybe eliminating things and then adding them to find out how your body reacts, or how do you go about your nutrition?
I ask them because I really want people to pay attention to their own bodies. I say, we got to try this, and then we got to try that. And at first it's going to seem like a lot of work, but once you get your list of foods, and I think what I tell people is that you want to start looking at the way you're feeling after you eat something. Are you feeling energized? Do you feel like you can take on the rest of your day? Or are you feeling tired? Do you have stomach aches? Are you getting gassy? Do you feel like you have to go to bed right after you eat? So those are some very distinct signals that your body is thriving on the foods that you're putting in your body, and then the opposite of thriving. So that is how I learned, because I wasn't paying attention to how my body was responding to food. And I was carrying a lot of inflammation and I didn't realize. And sometimes weight gain can show up, but it really is inflammation in your body.
It really is.
I think the more that we can educate ourselves and start learning to listen to our bodies, I think maybe, just maybe, we could put the diet industry out of business. I don't know. Fingers crossed.
Yeah. Well, that's part of yeah, Mark Sisson's whole approach is, and in the coaching pillar of that is so wonderful because it's really client led. Everybody's different, so we got to know how you're feeling after you eat certain things, and if are you willing. Let's eliminate all these poisonous things, and then we'll add this back in, see how you react. Maybe we'll add this in. We might be able to identify what you're sensitive to, and then. And everybody is different on how they react to certain foods. So I think it is an individual basis. I'm glad you hit on that point. But yeah, I was surprised that certain things, I never thought I was going to be able to give up my sandwiches, right? So now I've eliminated, grains pretty much all the way, except for when I'm out, I'll have bread out, certain breads. But I didn't even know years ago, I guess we went to a dwarf wheat, and that's really was meant to make us more efficient in exporting grains. But if you remember, I don't know, when I was a kid, the bread, after 3 or 4 days, it got moldy and it went bad. Now you can put a loaf of bread on the shelf and it'll be 6 months later, it's still good, right? It's just crazy.
Yeah, right, absolutely. I think that learning that's a very great point. And I think if something has a shelf life of longer than a week, then yeah, we don't want to be putting that in our bodies, right?
No, we don't want to be doing that. Yeah. Do you do any kind of ketosis in your nutrition, or maybe fat adaptive, getting your body to burn ketones of fat, or have you looked into that at all? Or?
When I was deep into diet culture, I did all the things. And now that I know how to eat for my body, I don't prescribe to those types of things.
Right.
I understand it's important for some people to live that way, and I will never judge, but for me it just brings back all those feelings of having to worry about things that I don't need to be worried about.
No, and that's, Mark Sisson's thing is it's all in, you become intuitive. In other words, it's intentional. It's a lifestyle, right? Hey, I'm going to a wedding next week. I'm going to have a piece of cake by intention. I'm not going off something. I'm not going to say, no, I've gone off and I'm going to have 7 pieces. No, I'm going to have a piece of cake and enjoy myself. And the next day I'm back on my normal schedule. So it's like, your body becomes efficient at burning, carb. He's not no carbs, but he's kind of low carbs and become fat adapted. He calls it metabolic flexibility. Your body becomes good at burning not only healthy fats and ketones, but it burns more efficiently carbohydrates. And so I think that's important. Like you said, it becomes a lifestyle. Maybe initially you kind of know the macronutrients in your meals, but after a while, you don't have to be measuring and keeping track. You kind of know this meal is more balanced, right? Because you're educated on that.
I would agree with that. For me, that sounds like a prison.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I used to be in that prison, and so for me, it's a very different mindset now. But again, I will be honest and tell you that I had to relearn how my body processed certain foods and how I ate. But I also believe, and you can disagree or agree,
yeah,
but the stress that we put on ourselves about how I have to eat and how I can't eat too much of this or too much of that, in my opinion, is still diet culture. And I think that
okay.
the stress that we're putting on our bodies with these expectations,
yeah,
I just don't feel like we need to be doing that to ourselves. Again, I know we all believe different things, and that's okay.
Yeah. No, I agree. I'm just, well, it was freeing to me because I just think, like some of their, oh God, I remember it was Dr. Greger. Yeah. Because he's definitely almost all vegan and but it can't be all or nothing because it's not sustainable. And I just think it's better to be in, you know what I mean? If you say, oh, well, you can never have pizza again, I don't think, then it's hard to sustain that. But if you can be reasonable and make, intuitive choices on what's the best, where you're at, I think those are good things. And to me, it's kind of freeing that you're not in a prison. You're able to make choices in that. That was all I was saying.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, here's how I handled that, right?
Yeah.
Interested to know. There are foods out there that I think we all feel sad that we can never eat again.
Right.
And I think that if you learn how to make restaurant quality food at home. Like I know how to
Correct.
make pizza at home now, or taco salads or enchiladas or Mexican food. I make it at home with whole
Yeah.
ingredients. And let me just tell you, the flavors and the taste and the feeling of satisfaction, it reaches a different level than when you're just going out for and spending money on food in a restaurant. Now, don't get me wrong. I love to eat out in restaurants, and I still do. But 90% of the time, I'm cooking at home because I know that I can make it better.
Yeah, yeah. And Mark's theory is, okay, you're going to go eating out, but you can, you're probably limited maybe in choices, but there's probably a better choice. I mean, you can do things like, hey, can I substitute the vegetables for this? You can kind of make some healthy choices, even if you're at a restaurant, because you become kind of intuitively, what's the nutrient dense foods that's available to me?
Absolutely. Always can make choices. And I think restaurants have gotten so used to people doing that
Yes.
it's just
Yeah.
it's the norm now.
Yeah. What kind of exercise do you propose to your clients?
In a perfect world, every single one of my clients would strength train because the benefits of that
Yes.
far outweigh. But some people and some women that I know just hate to be in the gym still.
Ah.
And if I can get through to you and tell you all the sciencey fun things about strength training and you believe me, great. If you still don't jump on board to what I'm saying, then just move your body in a way that feels good to you.
Yes, that's right. Do you know Peter Attia? Do you follow him at all?
I do. I love
Yeah,
him.
I love him because he's into longevity and how we can, in those decades still be active, and he studies that, of course, because I'm in there almost, right? I'm 66, so. But I love him. He kind of gets into the woods sometimes. I think, well, I'm enjoying it, but I mean, this is really science, right?
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, and I was thinking. For a while there, I was thinking, when I'm doing my strength training, I'm actually only in the gym about 35 minutes. I was thinking I'm really not working out hard enough. And Mark Sisson was like, no, you don't get into this chronic cardio pattern. And, he's into like, I think you propose, it's better to be moving a lot throughout the day, not just do our one workout and then we're on the couch the rest of the day. It's better to be moving a lot throughout the day, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So now I felt better that I'm not in the gym so long.
Yeah, right. I agree with that. I think that a lot of times, and I'm sure you've experienced with your clients, they still have that mindset that I don't have time. I don't have time. So if we can help them believe that even 35, because it's cumulative, right?
It's cumulative. That's right.
If I work out for 15 minutes one day and then an hour the next, I don't think people need to be so rigid with their time. But if that's all you have time for, I'd rather you do that than nothing at all.
Yeah, exactly. I post my workout videos. Sometimes I get a little hate, you got to post your workout videos. It's just because I believe you should be walking the talk. This is what I'm actually doing. Or somebody will make a comment, I don't have time to be in the gym 2 hours a day. Listen, I'm not in the gym that often. And, I'm on my island right now. I don't have a gym. There's a treadmill. I make do with maybe body weight, exercises. Let's see what I can do while I'm here. I jump rope. I can't walk too far unless I use the treadmill. So I jump rope and do things that are a little different. I swim. So, wherever we're at, we can kind of, encapsulate some kind of movement that's really good for us.
Absolutely.
Yes.
And I think that if people realize how good it feels to be moving your body, that the stress and the anxiety, exercise not only has been proven to help those things, but it's almost like an instant, shift. I know when I'm feeling that way, let me just go to the gym, let me work it out. And I 9 out of 10 times leave there feeling much better than when I started.
Oh, it really does affect your mood. It's just, and it's like, and even if you want to, like Tony Robbins says, it's about managing your states, right? So even if you want to change your state, one of the first things he says to do is to change your physiology, how you're moving. And then to focus on something different and then pay attention to what you're telling yourself. So, when you go to the gym, what are you doing? You're changing your physiology, how you're moving. You're actually changing your focus. Maybe you were go into a negative place, and you're saying different things to yourself. So really going to the gym kind of encapsulates all those kind of things, and you have a change of state, right?
Absolutely.
Wow, that's
I just
awesome.
wish that I could just put, sprinkle that feeling over everybody, because I know that some people still don't want to exercise because they have had a bad experience, but that doesn't need to be your story forever. There can be somebody, a professional like me or you, that can maybe change that person's experience. And that's what I try to do.
Yeah, it's so important that's your mission, because my mom was just here on the island. She just turned 89, and at about age 70, she saw my wife and I on the treadmill here. So she decided, I'm going to start walking. And so she started walking, and then, her washer and dryer's in the basement. We're in upstate New York. And so she has to go up and down those stairs about 10 times a day. And so the other day she's here and it was raining. We're huddled in our, in the cave here, and she made sure I have to go out and walk my 3 miles. And so she walks 3 miles, but she was talking to me. She was astounded that a lot of her friends in her age group or younger are like, well, why would you, I don't want to work out at our age. What difference does it make? And she just can't believe that mentality, right? Because now she can't go a few days without working out. So she loves it.
Oh, that's amazing. See,
Yeah.
It's never too late to start, right?
Never too late. And she's got these, so it's pretty safe. She's got now 2 handrails for the steps because they're pretty steep. But, you'll find some people, your mother shouldn't be going up and down those stairs. But, I mean, it's made her legs so strong. She goes down the stairs here into the water and swims. And it's just, probably the best for her, because it's carrying weight resistance, right? It's weight bearing exercise to go up and down the stairs.
Absolutely.
Do you have a lot of clients that are older, or I'm sorry, interrupting.
I do actually. No, it's okay. I was just giving your mom her flowers. Yes,
Thank
I do
you,
have
thank
a
you.
handful of elderly ladies, from about 70, and I think my oldest is 83.
Oh my God, that's so great, so inspiring, man. I tell you, it's just wonderful to see. We just gotta get this mentality to the rest of the country, right? To see it going, I mean, in such a direction. It's like, I love my cousins, but I have my whole family is predisposed to diabetes. So man, they're all on insulin, and they all, trading insulin back and forth. I just don't want to go down that road. So and my dad was diabetic, and so, and he actually became very. I gave him a book like 30 years ago by Dr. Bernstein. It was a guy who was becoming diabetic, and he actually became a doctor after that because he almost had his feet amputated. So my dad said I saved his life with that book, but he became so good at maintaining his sugar levels.
Wow, that's amazing. I love people who take that initiative and really heal themselves and manage their own health. I love that. I think that's amazing.
Yeah, it was funny because he had a couple of hospital visits, and he became very astute at, because a lot of people in the health industries and in the hospitals, they're not really educated on diabetes and glucose. And he would have, how much, how many units are you giving me of this kind of thing? And well, you're gonna drive me down to 50 or 30. And then he would catch them in a few mistakes. So you really got to be your own advocate, right, when it comes to health.
Absolutely. Yeah. Agreed.
Yeah. All right. What's that? So tell me about the book, the Doughnut, is it the Doughnut Diary, or what is it? It's, the Doughnut Diaries. Yeah. I'm going to put that link in here so some people can get that. Tell me about the book.
Okay. Well, like you said, I took advantage of 2020 in the most positive way possible, and I wrote my book. It took me the whole year to do it, and I'm very proud of it. But in my book, I share about how I struggled with feeling betrayed by my body my whole life. Why can't I stay in this small body? If when I was able to get down to a smaller size, the weight would come back almost immediately. And then turning 40 and then realizing, you know what, I have to really be more involved in this. I can't depend on the diet and for somebody else to help me. I got to do this. And I went on not only a physical journey, but an emotional journey, and realized how much pent up trauma that I had towards myself and towards the way I saw myself and my body. And when I started to heal from that and make some lifestyle changes, it just the whole scene changed for me. And I have now been on this health at every size. You can call it body positivity. I prefer body love, because it's not just about your physical well-being, it's about your emotional well-being too. So I I've been living this for the past 12 years now, and I'm very happy. And now I coach other women to free themselves from diet culture as well.
Oh man, and I got into that too. I was really, body shaming myself, right? Why? I mean, like genetically, my legs, even though I work them out, they just aren't going to get that big, right? But I used to bother me because I have friends, right, who never crossed the threshold of a gym. Oh, they have nice big legs, and I can't. I'm in there squatting with these bodybuilders, and I don't, and I would be very frustrated by that. So I had to become comfortable with how genetically I was made up, and I still do those things. And I like what you said about taking responsibility for, and empowering yourself to do those. Mel Robbins, she talks about, hey, no one's showing up. No one's coming. No one's going to be knocking at the door. You're going to have to do it yourself, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So is your book available? It's available on Amazon, I saw, right? And did you do the Audible version too?
I did not do Audible. That is maybe something I'll think about doing in the future, but no. My book is very quick read. It's real quick. It's 5 chapters. So you can get through it in a couple hours.
Yeah, mine was the same. I wrote a book, Deputy, on my life as a law enforcement officer from upstate New York to LA. And it took me about a year, but it was very cathartic. I loved bringing up those old stories again and writing it. But then I also did the Audible book, and it's very, I don't want to say it's hard, but you have to be, Audible has a great framework for quality control. They will not accept unless it's within a certain range, so that, people can enjoy listening to it without hitting the volume. So there's a very strict, but I was able to create kind of a sound booth in my closet, which the closet is a perfect place to really to do an Audible book, because it actually sucks in the sound and you get a nice voice from it. But it took me quite a while. It took me about 40 hours to do my little book, Audible format. But I would suggest trying it or doing it yourself.
Okay, I will.
Yeah.
Thanks for that tidbit.
Yeah, so I'm going to put a link to where do you want people to go? Do you want them to go to RachelLavinWellness.com, or they can just go and get your book, which is the Doughnut Diaries?
Well, let's do it all. But I rebranded at the beginning of this year. I don't know why. I could have sworn I updated my pod match. But anywho, it's Rachel Lavin Lifestyle and Wellness.
Oh, Rachel Lavin Lifestyle and Wellness. And I'll put that link also in both places, the podcast show notes and also the YouTube description, since we're filming this. And that'll be great. So people can go and read about. And then Doughnut Diaries, is it kind of like a memoir of what you went through and what you learned along the way?
It is. The only thing I really was hoping to get when my book entered the world was I didn't want it to be your typical self-help book. I wanted it to be a fun story. Like, I was just telling you my life story, and we happened to capture it in a book. And I do believe that I got feedback that I did achieve that. So I'm really happy about that.
Good.
Yeah.
Well, we're wired for story for sure. There's no doubt. And putting things in a story, I like it. People just like to learn that way, because if a story, they'll remember it and adopt it and hopefully put it into their own story that they're writing for themselves. And Rachel, I want to thank you for joining me today. Any last thoughts for people, women? I know you do women and men, but you focus on women. But any last thoughts? And I want to thank you for empowering other people to make a healthy change.
Well, thank you so much. I appreciate that. And thank you for the opportunity to share my message. It's people like you that are helping me get that out there. So to end on a positive note, I just would love for people, and women and men alike, to understand that you have the power to be a whole person. My favorite quote in the whole world, and I don't know if it was originated by someone, but I stole it from Jane Fonda, and she says that we are not meant to be perfect, we're meant to be whole. And that really just, I
That's
think, is
true.
so beautiful. Yeah.
So beautiful. That's great. Rachel Lavin, you rock. Hang around for a little debriefing, and you know where to find Rachel now. And get her book, The Doughnut Diaries. I mean, she's awesome. She's empowering people, and you can be a part of her crew. So thank you, Rachel. Appreciate you.
Thanks, Cliff.